Are you ready to go all in?
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
And welcome to the All In Practice Growth Podcast, the podcast that brings you a different perspective on the dental and medical industries. I'm your host, Shane McElroy, and I'm so glad that you joined us today, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, doesn't really matter. Just glad that you're here. Now, take a minute real quick, and if you could actually go to the All In Practice Growth YouTube channel and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate that. You get to see even more content, my beautiful face all the time, which I know that's why you come to see this show. Also follow us on Instagram as well. It's allin_PG. You can direct message us if you have requests for the show, anything like that. You can put it right there. And then we got a lot of great content there for you as well. But I'm actually really excited about this episode today because this one actually hits really close to home. So the reason I'm having this guest on is because I've got to watch kind of firsthand as my wife is going through different types of therapy and things like that. And she gave me permission to talk about that on the show today, but not the therapy that most people think, where you just pop a pill and hope things will get better. And we'll discuss that a little more, but I wouldn't even call it alternative therapy. I'd call it just the right type of therapy, especially for what's working out for my wife. And so I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Tabitha Childers. Welcome to the podcast, Tabitha.
Hey Shane, happy to come on and talk about what I'm doing over here at the Wellbeing Collective.
So before we kind of get rolling into stuff, can you give people a little bit about your background? Because you're a nurse practitioner, but you've kind of made a career path change or built a new kind of business that's going on right now. Can you kind of take everybody through that?
Yeah, I would love to. So I worked in emergency medicine and trauma surgery since about 2005.
No
I
stress there, right?
Yeah, no stress. Absolutely not. In fact, it's
Yeah.
probably those are probably two of the most traumatizing areas to work in for medical professionals. Interesting statistic about nurses that you may not know is that female nurses, actually complete suicide at twice the rate of the general population of women. And
Wow.
so it's important to note and understand that a lot of times it's traumatized folks doing traumatizing work. So, but I realized that in this environment that I was saving lives, but not really helping people truly live. It was like a revolving door of the same story. People lying in my ER bed, having the worst day of their life and asking like, how did this happen? They'd say, I'm taking my medicines every day. I go to my doctor, oh, I know I have a few pounds to lose. But I thought I was doing the best I could. And frankly, there was never time for me to talk them through the things that would really shift their life, that would really shift their consciousness toward true health and vitality. And I grew exhausted with patients having to wait till they were sick to change their life. Right.
Well, that sounds like a pretty common problem, and one
Totally.
that actually the pharmaceutical companies enjoy because they'd rather help you subdue the symptom in perpetuity as opposed to solve the actual core issue that's causing the problem.
Well, yeah, because if you solve the core issue, then that's not very profitable.
No money
Yeah.
there.
Not even a little bit, right? So that the realization that I wanted to help people like transform and not just because of an accident of a crisis was where the Wellbeing Collective was born. And to be completely transparent for myself, I also experienced a lot of burnout and depression after working for
Sure.
years in these traumatizing environments. So the Wellbeing Collective is my comeback story too.
Well, and you'll got a great audience for this because I don't know if you know this, dentists unfortunately have an extremely high suicide rate.
I
It's
heard.
it's a really tough profession where, and I think the fact that, they went to school to perform dentistry, and not necessarily learn how to run a business. So you add that extra stress, and then also you got to manage a bunch of people. Like it's just this combination of things, that has really plagued the industry. So I think could actually help a lot of people and maybe some alternate options than maybe just taking an antidepressant or doing the worst thing possible to yourself, obviously.
Absolutely. I've got great ideas.
Well, let's hear some of what are like some of these ideas. All right, let's talk about the Wellbeing Collective. What is that? Like, what's the purpose of it? What is that business?
Yeah. So Well, first, let me tell you, I'm a nurse practitioner who specializes in helping my patients do what I call crafting coherence, sparking evolution, and most of all, enjoying their life. Um, I use things like advanced integrative medicine, hypnosis, neuro linguistic programming, sound therapy, and also precision biomarkers to help people live their highest purpose and do their greatest work. So, I really combine a lot of modalities and stack them together to create really amazing changes for people in their life.
What are some of those things, or what are biomarkers and how do you use those?
Yeah, well, specifically biomarkers are lab tests that we get all the time, but I look at them from a functional perspective, and I use integrative and functional reference ranges, which are very different than conventional lab ranges. Most of the time you go to the doctor for your once a year, once every 6-month appointment, and you just get a check, A plus plus 100, everything looks great. See you next
Sure.
year. But that's not the way that I practice. I'm very precise in looking at functional ranges, and I look at optimal levels, which is so much different than conventional levels. And
Sure. Yeah.
like predictive precision feedback that's personalized. It helps people plan for their future self, for their future health. And I think that's really what sets me apart. And certainly I use things like peptides, which help to hack the body in ways that promote longevity and anti-aging.
Oh, nice. Well, so like you could help me from these bags keep getting bigger by, is there anything you could do to help me there?
Absolutely. I love red light therapy for bags and for collagen and even PRP injections. That's not something I do quite yet, but PR and, for aesthetics, but I'm interested in getting
Mhm.
training for that. But there's lots of things we can do about those bags, Shane.
So things like growth factors and your PRPs, obviously, but tell me about red light therapy because that's actually become really popular lately. My wife has this creepy red mask that if I catch her wearing it sometimes, like, but she looks younger. But it's a it's a weird thing. What is red light therapy? What does it do?
She looks amazing.
She does. She
First of
looks good.
all. Yeah. So I use, red light and near infrared light in my practice, and it's excellent for, recovery of your muscles, so it speeds recovery time. It has multiple effects. It decreases inflammation. As we know, inflammation is, or it's at least the current thought is that inflammation is really behind a lot of diseases that impact, humans today. And then it also boosts collagen production, and promotes mitochondrial health. So, and mitochondria, everybody calls it the powerhouses of the cell, but it really is like the functional unit of the cell that produces that ATP, which is life. It's the energy that sustains life. So, using those modalities is pretty key, I think, these days, or at least it's helping a lot of folks that I know.
Well, why don't we do this? Because I think this will help kind of stand up my I'm ADD, so I'll go all over the place. But let's
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
yeah, my wife's story. And kind of what you've done with her so far. And because I can tell you, so again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but she had trauma, different forms happen when she was younger. Um, she's been depressed, she's clinically depressed, she's taken medication for that for a long time, but it never really fully, it just kind of subdued it. It was always kind of there. Right. And,
Right.
high anxiety and I always, we're polar opposites in the sense of like, I could walk into a room and it's trash, but there's one nice lamp over there. I'm like, what a great lamp. And then my wife, we could walk into the Ritz Carlton and everything's pristine. And she's like, there's one speck of dust there. And
Yeah.
she like goes to that negative thing, that negative mindset. And that's something she's really wanted to work on for a long time, as
Yeah.
opposed to seeing the negative in something initially. What is the positive of what could be? So why don't you take us through? So my wife, Chi Chi, Martha, whatever you want to call her, it's fine. She came in to see you. And where did you start? Where did you start with her?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, love your wife, and it's been such a pleasure and privilege working with her. And so, I mean, to start, it's with a really, I started with an advanced neurobiomarker map. So we got labs on her, and I don't treat the body as like this is the mind and this is the body. They're together. You can't treat one without treating the other. So
Mind body connection, or like, whole body therapy, which I think a lot of
right.
everything's moving. It's funny. Everything seems to be moving that way where the connection of like, you know, the mental side, I don't want to say spiritual, but let's say like the mind, right? And then the body all connected together, and trying to treat more of that because they are all interrelated and interconnected.
That's right. That's right. And so, specifically in labs with regard to thinking about like depression or PTSD, I'm really looking for inflammation. I'm looking for metabolic imbalances and things like that because, inflammation doesn't just live in the body, it also lives in the brain,
Hmm.
and inflammation in the brain can cause things like depression, anxiety, and even dementia. So, it's important for us to identify that early and have real conversations about it and then come up with real solutions for folks that are sustainable and help people to shift their consciousness around that. So, that those were the first things we did. I did a beautiful intake with her and got to know her better. And ultimately, we decided on a few particular treatments for her. One is my signature treatment that I've created called neurobioharmonics. And then we've also investigated ketamine treatments with her. And
Yeah.
and that has been, I think, pretty transformational.
Yeah, it really has. So, okay, neuro what a thing? What was that thing you said? Neurobio what?
Neurobioharmonics.
All right,
So this
take me
is
through
my
that.
Yeah, I will take you through that. It's a signature method that I created. It brings to harmony the nervous system and the body's biology through resonance and precision and state management. It's like the convergence of neuroscience, sound, and integrative medicine. So I use PEMF, which is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. I have a mat that produces PEMF plus infrared heat, and that helps to actually charge the cells and push more oxygen into the cellular space. And it boosts recovery. It helps with mood and those types of things. I then pull a red light mat, sorry, which has red light and near infrared light on top of the patient. And then I weave in sound therapy, hypnosis, and integrative touch all together as one modality. It's like the ultimate wellness stack. And they
Yeah,
all the
and I'm gonna interrupt you here because I
Yeah,
want to tell everybody I actually filmed part of this, right? Because I was very interested in this, and so I was in the room while this was going on, and so she's got these different vibrations, the sounds going on while my wife's under the red blanket, and so I'm not under the red blanket. The therapy is not for me. I'm just a bystander there, right? And I came out of there, and just like the sounds alone, I was just like zen or at peace, right? Like it was very interesting to me that like vibrations and sounds could make me feel or change the way I felt, my mood. So I'm going to start there. So that just one aspect of that, it was very interesting to me how like immediately I was just ah,
That's right. That's right. The sounds actually cause the brain waves to entrain into these very deeply relaxing states. And so I use multiple ways to bring people into deeply relaxed states so that I can loosen rigidity around thought patterns and then help to program in more supportive and resourceful ways to see the world, especially informed by their intentions. This isn't like my idea of the way their world should be. Like I'm very respectful of the way that they view their world. So that's what those intakes are for. They're I do at least a 2-hour intake. I really get to know folks before I work with them and
so
find
you're
out.
trying to find out like where they want to go, and in a sense you're their guide or Sherpa in a sense.
That's right. I'm actually a expert guide for the unconscious mind,
Oh,
which is the most powerful, most beautiful, most transformative part of your brain. If you think about, I mean, it's very simplistic to say that your brain could be like the conscious and the unconscious, but in a simplistic way, a way to think about it is like 5% of your brain is the conscious mind. That's the brain that you're aware of, the brain that you use regularly, that you solve problems with,
and
and
we
that
think it controls everything.
it's so powerful, right? No, the 95% is the powerful thing. And, our bodies are literally robots that respond to what's going on in our brains. So we might as well start working with this to really impact what our biology is doing. And so that's kind of the work that I do, and it's amazing. It's really the most potent, powerful, and gentle way to shift patterns and transform your life. It's fun too. I think that Cheech would probably agree with that. Like, we've
So
had dance parties in my office. So,
I saw that. I saw you took a video of that. I was like, what is going on over here? But she's happy, and that makes me happy, and I like
right.
that.
That's
Um,
right.
so you took her through. So you had the intake with her to really get to know like what her issues were, what she was trying to accomplish there, because everybody's going to have a different goal in mind. Um, and I really like the part of like where you talk about like the goal is to enjoy life, and that could be different for everybody. And so you're trying to figure out what that is, and you're taking biomarkers, you're doing lab tests, you take there, but you're also trying to figure out what they really want, and maybe they don't say it properly, right? So you're hitting that. You're doing sound therapy, integrated touch. You're doing some other therapies as well. But let's get into this one because this one's really interesting. It's something I'm truly interested in.
Yeah,
Is the ketamine therapy?
sure.
So what is, for those who don't know what ketamine is, what is ketamine? Because a lot of people have only
Great.
heard it as like a special K or street drug, but it's used
Yes.
widely in medicine.
It is used widely in medicine, and it's been used very safely in medicine since about the 1960s. It is a dissociative anesthetic that they use extensively for like conscious sedation in emergency departments to help
And
people like.
in dental surgeries, they use it like all the time.
Right. But if you use it at low doses, it has psychedelic like properties. In other words, it helps to relax the default mode in the brain, which some folks think that is where the ego is loosely housed. This
Hmm.
framework that creates this idea of being a human. It loosens that up so that you have greater access to the unconscious, the 95%. Or maybe some other field of information,
Would you
right?
call like the subconscious almost like the reptilian brain, the fear, need to eat, like all those like survival things?
The unconscious, no, I wouldn't really I would say that those are unconscious patterns, sure, but the unconscious, I think, is much more vast than that,
Gotcha.
for
So
sure.
take me through. So when they say I'm coming in to do a ketamine therapy, obviously you do it differently. It's not just like here's your ketamine and then see you later. It's not how it works with you at all. And
Not
so
at
there's
all.
the build up to get there, right?
Yeah,
Which we talked about before.
right.
I've seen my wife. Take me through. Okay, she walks in the room. What do you do?
Well, it really starts way before that, it starts with a thorough prep. So I wanna make sure that folks know exactly what they're getting themselves into, like, what are they going to expect? What are they gonna feel? What are the risks? What are the benefits? And then it starts with, understanding what her intentions are, like, what does she wanna accomplish in here? And then she very specifically is going to write out, where she wants to go with this journey, what questions she's looking to answer, what insights she'd like to get. And then, when she comes into the room, it's about getting very comfortable. That's where we start with the setting of a ketamine journey. It's creating this beautiful, sacred, safe container for healing and transformation. Call it a crucible if you want, but it's this beautiful space where folks come to transform. And before the setting is the mindset, and that's the set of psychedelic therapy or ketamine therapy. And we accomplish that, getting the right mindset together by setting intentions and spending time together and making sure that we're both on the same page, making sure that she's ready, and also with unconditional positive regard. Like, for my clients, like, I have unwavering faith, unwavering in their ability to heal and transform, or I'm not going to work with them. If I don't have that for them, we're not going to work together. So, at these low doses, ketamine has the psychedelic property. It promotes plasticity in the brain, which is like, it helps you form new neural frameworks, by using BDNF, or upregulating BDNF, which is brain derived neurotrophic factor. It's also anti-inflammatory in the brain, which we talked about already, how
Yeah.
inflammation is driving disease in multiple body systems. Um, and it has potent antidepressant effects, like straight out of the gate. It's one of the most potent ways, Shane, that I know of to like kick the brain out of the depression
What?
well.
Why? Why?
I'm not exactly sure of why. It works with the neurotransmitter glutamate, which is different than serotonin or dopamine or norepinephrine or the different ones. It also, it could be the opioid effects. There are some opioid effects with ketamine, but it is extraordinarily potent with having a fairly immediate effect on depression, which is not like SSRIs or the other antidepressants that we know about.
No,
I would even argue that those antidepressants are more likely to help people feel different, not feel better
not feel
necessarily.
great. Yeah, 100%. Not feel like they're in that hole, but it's a different kind of thing. It's not a, there's a lot of stuff with SSRIs that I won't get into right now.
Yeah,
But it's, to me, if you're trying to solve the problem of depression, just like you're on a pill forever and you're going to feel different, you're not really, like, there's something always going to be deeper there, right? Where even if it's a sustained depression or, something that's like causal, right? There was a bad situation, a breakup or whatever that's temporary. But
yeah,
to be on a pill for a long time, I mean, listen, some people need it, right? I'm not going to tell people what they need to do. However,
sure.
she wants to find a long-term solution. And it doesn't mean that she's going to drop everything. She's like trying to figure out what's the best balance right now. But take me through, like, what happens to most people. Everybody's mind's going to be a little different in how they journey there. But, like, all right, so you got in there, you've done your pre-work, you're getting set, you've set the intentions. All right, you get into
Yeah.
the ketamine, and then what happens?
Yeah, well, so I usually deliver ketamine with a shot intramuscularly because I like to give people maximum ability to move around if they'd like to. I use an eye covering to help them drop deeply to the internal space. I put on headphones again to encourage the inward journey. And music is powerfully potent during ketamine journeys. It helps to just drive the journey along, and I am particularly good at putting playlists together and love
Nice.
to do it. It's one of my favorite things. And and then here's me during the whole journey. It's like, go, go. I'm quiet in the background, just like cheering people along, just go after it, whatever it is. And I'm just holding space for the journey. And what happens in a journey? Gosh. How about if I tell you about my ketamine journey?
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay. So I was in experiential training back when I was learning to administer ketamine. Is about 2020. And I had received my dose of ketamine and I had my eye covering on and I was, lying back and I began this journey in a temple. And it was the most beautiful temple that you can imagine. Had all these like fractals of colors everywhere and they were like scintillating and moving and it was beautiful, and I was just flying around the temple. Like I was going up the temple slowly, but flying like, I don't know, it seemed like the speed of light, but I was the temple. I wasn't the human anymore. I was
Nice.
the temple. I was the music. I was everything all at once. And I knew in that moment that I never needed to be afraid of anything ever again, not for the rest of my life, because I was that, not this. And
Wow.
it has been one of the most powerful anchors for me in my personal development that I've ever experienced. I've never forgotten it. I will always remember that. When things get tough, I'm like, I'm that, and I'm gonna be okay, no matter what. No, if I leave my body, that's probably where I go. That's great. Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that. So it for me, that's been my experience with ketamine, and M all of the clients that I've worked with, which has been many, have had the most beautiful experiences with ketamine, even if they've had challenging journeys. We always say that you may not get the journey that you want, but you almost always get the journey that you need.
It's funny. Yeah. Only your subconscious would know that.
Yeah, that's right, and we
So
never know the content that your unconscious is gonna bring up, never. But it's always potent, it's always important, and it's always, like, it's useful. And we
is
and yeah.
So psilocybin in other areas has gotten more popular as a therapy there. I may or may not have tried that, not in a therapeutic capacity back in my
Yeah, yeah.
college days, right?
Okay.
How is that mechanism action different, or is it similar? That's a different kind of thing, but you talk about neuroplasticity, you talked about, psychedelics, that's kind of grouped in there. And a lot of people are using that, especially, veterans doing that out west for therapy as well.
Yeah.
How does that compare or contrast with like ketamine?
That's a great question. It's a different form of psychedelic. It does work on different neurotransmitters, specifically serotonin versus glutamate. Um, the journey is different. Ketamine journeys are about 40 minutes to an hour, whereas psilocybin can be like 4, 6 hours plus for folks. So it's very different. But they do have similar benefits and effects. For me, it's a very different journey. My experience personally, and it's, very personal. Ketamine has always seemed to be more potent for eliciting that like awe and wonder, like, oh
Mm.
wow, oh my gosh, like really like noticing how connected and the wonder and awe of it all. And for me, psilocybin has been more like cathartic and like deeply like
Ah,
letting go and just really that kind of deep work in the medicine. From ketamine to me, a lot of the work is the integration. That's very different for other people I know, and the work that I do specifically with ketamine is unique because I pair ketamine with hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, sound therapy, deep integration, and I usually only need about 3 sessions of ketamine or less. Whereas you'll notice with a lot of psychiatry practices or ketamine clinics, people are having 6 plus ketamine treatment,
sure.
and it's kind of like this ongoing thing. But I don't really find that I need that because the tools that I use are deeply transformative in and of themselves. I just find that ketamine helps to really like loosen that rigidity and helps it to be that much more quick and, I don't know, beautifully easy and
Yeah.
effortless.
It was interesting. So I'm coming to the room after she's done and not knowing what to expect, right? Not knowing she's going to be like, oh my God, because she's never done these sort of things before. Um, and she was as peaceful as I've ever seen her. She was like, hey, babe. like, and, and it wasn't just like part of that was her coming off of the ketamine, obviously. So we get home hours later, days later, weeks later, and I think she's done 2 sessions so far, but she's at peace now. It's very interesting to me. And I've noticed that my peace comes from her peace. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just we're so close that if she's not happy. I'm not going to be fully happy. And to see
No.
her looking at the positive things and like having this mentality already, I did not, I'll just be honest with you, I did not expect it to go. I thought it was going to be like maybe a little,
Uh-huh.
maybe I think it's going to take forever, right? Like I did not expect the change to happen so quickly and so profoundly, and just see her like I can see it in her face when I see her. She's just instead of this just kind of intense look, it's this ah, like
Yep,
you just
that's right.
like right before you're going to fall asleep, that kind of peace in her mind. I caught her like just painting the other day. Never does that. I love it. I think it's awesome,
Yeah,
because I can tell you don't do those things if you're hyper stressed,
that's
you
right.
know?
That's
And
right.
so it's been, I was a little shocked by it. Like, I'm sorry I didn't know you. So I didn't have faith in, but I do now because the results have been, shockingly impressive, and that's just not, she says that, but I think it's a bigger deal when I say it simply because I'm the
Yeah.
observer, and with
Yeah.
her all the time. She's more patient with her kids, and they're a handful. They're like me.
Yes.
So that does take a lot of patience. Now, let me ask you, we're talking about my wife, who, and by the way, my wife's a physician assistant. Like she has a medical background. Like she
Mhm.
researched the hell out of this because she wouldn't just dive into just anything. So for those who
Yeah.
are listening, understand that like this wasn't like a fly by the night sort of thing. It was I'm researching this, and then she found you, Tabitha, talked to you for a while, and then the process began. And I was supportive. I just was, I don't know, you know. But like, let's take somebody like me. All right, I like my Zen, so I've got nicotine. I'm ADD, and one of the biggest frustrations in my life is I've got a lot of what I think are profound thoughts up in here, but I struggle sometimes to communicate those. So if I came to you with the problem, some of those issues, like I don't want to have to just pop a Zen just to be like chill.
Yeah.
And I want to be more, at peace. And maybe I don't even want to take all my ADD medication all the time.
Yeah.
What would be something you would recommend to me?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Well, I think that for the ADD folk out there, which is basically
There's a
everyone
lot
else.
of us.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people, right? I work with something that I call coherence, which is helping people to connect their brain back with their heart and their body. Like, so it's like brain, biology, body, all that coherence. And so so that would be some work that I would be doing with you. Um, and then hypnosis would be I would be able to help you with that. Like,
You're not going to make me like act like a chicken and stuff, right? Like, is that?
no, 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 literally. And no, 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 no. Close your eyes, Shane.
Oh, crap.
Ah,
Let's do this.
let's just for a second, just close your eyes. Just notice the way that your hips feel on your chair. Notice your breath and the way that your breath feels as it enters your nose and your lungs. Relax. Just let yourself relax deeper and deeper. Relax. Good. And then when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Literally, that's what hypnosis feels like. It's very gentle. It's very simply allowing your conscious mind to loosen up, relax, let go of the resistance to suggestions and to imagining something new. Like, that's literally all we're afraid of. We're afraid of mystery. We're afraid of new, but like, growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It doesn't.
100%.
You've gotta feel uncomfortable. You've gotta be willing to experience some chaos. You've got to be willing to experience some cerebral entropy to break through to the next thing. And frankly, most people are not willing to experience that. And
I'm,
that's
I'm
why
going to
we stay stuck.
tell you,
That's it.
Tabitha, a
What?
couple things here. Number
Tell
one,
me.
I thrive in chaos. I create it and live in it.
Okay.
But number two, I gotta say, Calm, that app Calm for helping you sleep, should call you because your voice is absolutely perfect for that. That was
Mm,
amazing.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it is pretty good. I think so.
I've got a solid one for a podcast, but for that, you just nailed it. Right. So before we don't have a lot more time, right? But I do want to ask you this. So, like, who is your average client, by the way? Like, is it female? Is it male? Is it like who is your average client?
That's a great question. For me, I think my average client are high performing professionals. Because that's me. I always think that, you attract kind of folks like you and I think that for me as a coach and as a practitioner, like I think I'm especially skilled in helping folks that are like me because the things that I've managed to overcome, my comeback story, are the things that I'm actually going to be able to help other people walk through. It's like I'm a midwife in a way. I've done it, and let me help you do it too. I not only preach it, I definitely practice all of the things that I help folks with for sure.
All right. So you said professionals, and you're based where?
I'm in Midtown Atlanta. I also work with folks globally. I can do a lot of my work virtually as well. So, um, and come visit me in Atlanta, and if you're qualified for ketamine, and we can do that here. But all the rest of my work, or much of my work, can be done virtually as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So, if say somebody's interested in working with you or
Yeah,
just learning more,
yeah.
where would they go?
That's a great question. You can head over to wellbeingcollective.health and sign up for a consult or just a quick conversation if you just want to see if we're a good match. And we'll get together.
Yeah, love your website, by the way. It's awesome.
Thank
So
you.
that's well-being collect. Is it wellbeing.health or wellbeingcollective.health?
Wellbeingcollective.health.
Wellbeingcollective.health. We'll put that in the show notes too. But if you guys are
Thank
interested in
you.
this, I would highly recommend reaching out if you're struggling with some things and have been for a while, and you're looking just a different way to maybe get mentally and physically where you want to get. I've been just thoroughly impressed with the results from my wife. I'm actually talking to her now. I think I'm up next for some stuff. So,
Let's
uh,
go,
yeah, I don't
Shane.
know if we'll do the ketamine stuff. I mean, I'm down. I'll do whatever. I'll probably go and do, listen to your advice and you tell me which way we should go. But highly, highly recommend reaching out to Tabitha, guys. If you are, even curious about this, I think it's definitely worth your time. It can really help you mentally, as I've seen the results already. But Tabitha, I really appreciate you coming on today. And more importantly, I appreciate what you're doing for my wife and our family. It's just been amazing. So I can't thank you enough.
My absolute pleasures. And listen, anybody out there who is interested in exploring some really unique ways to enjoy your life, look me up. I would love to help you. The one thing that I've learned, Shane, is that I cannot carry people to wellness. I tried most of my career and it made me sick, to be honest with you. But what I will do is I will walk with you, I will crawl with you every step of the way to get you there, as long as you're willing to walk or crawl with me. And that's the truth, and that's the difference. That's what you'll get when you get to know me and when you come to my practice. I promise
So
you
you
that.
heard it here, folks. It's not like where you get to see the doctor or somebody like that for 10 minutes and then you see him 6 months later. Like, you have a partner in this with you. And I've witnessed it firsthand. But guys, thanks for tuning in. Tabitha, thank you so much. And guys, we'll catch you on the next All In Practice Growth podcast.
Thanks for listening to the All In Podcast. See you next time.